Welcome to the Nickel City Mafia pregame report. Biggest game of the year. Patriots versus the Bills. Joining me today, as always, first of all, my name is Mike Thornton. You see it right there on the screen. But joining me, as always, my co-host, Jake Podger. Jake, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Mike. I'm just anticipating this big Bills win that we're going to get tomorrow night. So pretty excited for it.
I feel like it's been a minute since we were on a show. I mean, we had
I
the
know.
holidays last week. We were able to fit in a post-game shows, so that was nice. But man, it's just been a long time. It feels like we've been waiting a long time to this game, and it's pretty much here. It's going to be torture, waiting and getting through football today, and waiting
I know.
and all day tomorrow. It's going to be torture.
Yeah. It's going to be a long 48 hours or however long it is, however long till kickoff.
So we got a lot to get through in the show today. And first of all, I want to say, Cosmic Jerry, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And let me ask all of you, please hit that subscribe button. Jake and I greatly appreciate it. And give us a like, give us a share. So before we get into the show, Jake, we got a special guest today. I mean,
wow, let's go.
Let's go, right? We're going to bring in a Patriot fan. He's living in Florida, Chris Windrum. Let me bring him in right now. Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Jake, Mike, good to have you. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for...
Good to have you, Chris. Good to have you.
So Chris is
very bold of you to come on a Bills show. I like it.
I know. I love it. I love it. Chris is he's a co-worker of mine. We met about a year ago. He came out and was training in San Diego at our facility, and now he's out in Florida. Our facility out there, and he does a fantastic job. And he told me early on when he met me a year ago that he was a Patriots fan. And I said, well, that's the only bad thing about, that's a problem, a little bit of a problem. But he's been quiet. He had been quiet, Jake, until about 2 weeks ago when the Patriots took over the lead in the division by a few percentage points. And next thing I know, he's starting to throw some smack talk out there in our Slack channel that we use on auction days. And
nice.
But he's he's pretty nice about it. He's not, overbearing at all. But Chris, tell us a little bit about, first of all, you got an interesting story. How did you become a Patriot fan? Because you grew up in New York, right?
Yeah, actually, I grew up in Queens, New York. Spent most of my time in there. And I first started watching football. You could always be a Giants fan, you could always be a Jets fan, or you could always be a Bills fan. But it's funny because we don't really consider Buffalo, New York. It's kind of, it's upstate. It's different. It's different.
Western New York. Everyone says upstate. That's not from Western New York, but go on.
So when I first started watching football, my dad was a big Patriots fan. He used to love watching the Patriots. So of course that was the team I first started watching. And watching Tom Brady play and the Bill Belichick in the system, it was just kind of like poetry on the field. These guys would just come on. If they would come on, they'd throw the ball, boom, 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 back to back to back to back. And next thing you know, it'd be in the end zone, it'd be a touchdown. So it was just, it was a great team to watch. So that's when I fell in love with the Patriots.
Well, you're a pretty young guy, so of course the Bills were going through their bad years, right? So if you had to pick a team, you're in New York, Queens, New York, as you said. I guess I don't blame you for not picking the Bills, but still the Giants and the Jets. But you picked the Patriots because of your dad, and I have to respect that. I mean, so I have to ask you a big question because this was a big topic last year. Were the Patriots good because of Belichick's system, or was it all Tom Brady? And I don't know. I felt it got answered last year when Brady went to Tampa, wins the Super Bowls, and of course, the Patriots have one of their worst years in, I don't know, I can't even remember the last time they had a season like that. But of course, they had so many people that had opted out for COVID, and they lose the GOAT, the greatest of all time. So I ask you the question. And it looks, the answer now it's swinging back to the other side. It's the Belichick system. Maybe it was a little bit of both, but I don't know. What did you think brings the most success? Is it the system, or was it Brady?
Well, I think the Belichick system really is a great system. You can see it in all of our players and all the teams, how it works out. I look at somebody like Cam Newton, great quarterback, great dual threat, but last season he didn't have a lot of success. And like you said, there were players who did opt out for COVID and things of that nature. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the quarterback throwing the football. So if that quarterback is, if he doesn't have the accuracy, if he doesn't have, that calmness in the pocket, then regardless of how great your coach is, it's going to be on the player at the end of the day.
Yeah, Jake, what do you think? I mean, it was a mix of both, but I mean, let's face it, Belichick's been successful for a long time, but a lot of that, and I think even back to his days when he was coach for Cleveland, I believe, the Browns, right? I actually was at a Bills game and a playoff game against them where we lost back in there. I think it was 89 or 88, right before. Actually, it was right before the Super Bowl runs. But what's your thoughts on that, Jake? As far as
I don't know if it's ever been more evident of how good of a coach Bill Belichick is, and I'm not going to just beat down the door that Bill Belichick's the best of all time. We all know that, Chris. We don't want to think about it. It's been 20 some odd years now. He's just been taking it to the Bills every freaking season, except for last year. And it's really amazing. I mean, even last year they still went 7-9, and they had close to nothing as far as weapons go. I mean, you had Jules retire, you had Tom Brady leave, Cam was banged up, and actually he was playing pretty well up until he did get COVID. After that, it was just like a downhill fall for him the entire rest of the season. So it's truly amazing that they're back in this position again. And I was talking with my other buddy, my coworker, who's actually also a Pats fan. He's from Buffalo, and he's a Pats fan. And he mentioned this to me, and he said, it's crazy because right now you guys are the ones that are supposed to be in the driver's seat. And here we are back at 8-4, first in the AFC East. And you guys are like scared, like you're actually worried for this game. You should not be worried. I mean, on paper, the Bills should win this game, right? But for whatever reason, New England's still just hanging around like that. And it's really incredible. And it's a nod to Belichick's coaching style. And I know Buffalo people are probably hating me saying this right now, but you have to tip your cap to it because it's just remarkable what they've been able to do. Like, doesn't matter who you put back there. Matt Castle, they almost went to the playoffs with Matt Castle as a quarterback. I mean,
they had that was a 10-6 season. They should have went to the playoffs, right?
Yeah, they should have. Any other normal year, they're going to the playoffs, but yeah. That's crazy. And, I like Matt Castle. He was a Pro Bowler with the Chiefs, but geez, I mean, this is like his first year as a full-time starter. They almost make the playoffs with him. So it's just amazing. Really
so Chris, before the season started, what was your expectations this year? And you obviously drafted Mac Jones with the 15th overall pick, and I get into it in our show a little bit later. You guys spent a lot of money in free agency, and man, I was looking at these players. I'm like, damn, that's one quick way to get good is bring in the players that you did. But what was your expectation coming into this year?
With any rookie quarterback, you're kind of skeptical. You really don't know how they can perform. There's always the pressure at the end of the NFL because transitioning from college to NFL is a whole different monster. So I didn't really have an optimistic outlook on this season, especially after our last season. I was kind of ready to accept that the dynasty was over. I was like, well, we're going to have to restart from scratch. We're going to have to rebuild. And it's cool because I'm still going to be a Pats fan regardless at the end of the day. And I'm just, got to ride it out. Everyone has their highs, they have their lows, but I didn't really see us being a playoff contender for this season.
So
you are so spoiled, Chris. I'm very jealous. I got to be honest. Yeah, but it's great, and I respect it. You're going to be a Pats fan no matter what. So You're not just one of those bandwagoners, So that's great.
So they get off to a 2-4 start, and it's living up to your expectations. You're like, yeah, I didn't have much high hopes this season, but man, they've turned it around. They've won 6 in a row. They're sitting at top of the division. What changed? What turned things around? Do you think, Chris?
We're looking at some of the early games, some of the games early in the season. You can see where our running game has finally kind of, it's been stable. We got I always forget his name. We have Damian Harris. We have Stevenson as well. We lost James White, which is a big hit to our passing downs, especially. But our wide receiving core, they're really fighting. They're getting what's it called? The yards after catch are amazing for our wide receiving core. Our offensive line is staying strong, making sure that Mac Jones keeps the dirt off his jersey. And really, that's the keys to our victory. If we can minimize the turnovers and make sure that, there's not too much pressure on Mac Jones. And, yeah, it was really just our defense has stepped up in a big way. We have some of the most, I think we have the second most takeaways in the season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next to the Bills, tied with the Bills. So J.C. Jackson is leading the league in the interceptions. So it's amazing. So the system, the Bill Belichick system is really just working. You can see it in full effect right now.
Yeah. Thoughts on that, Jake?
Yeah. Criminally underrated secondary that New England has. And actually, you guys are going to be missing a big name player who I was talking with Mike about, Kyle Duggar. Thank God, because he's playing like an all-pro this year too. And actually, there was some talk that the Bills maybe wanted to take him 2 years ago in 2020 in the draft. Ended up being a second-round pick for New England, 37th overall out of Lenore Ryan, a small D2 school. This guy was, he's kind of a hybrid. He's like 6'2", 220. He's huge. He could play in the run. He could play in the pass. I mean, he's really a really good all-around player. So, yeah, luckily he's out, so we don't have to deal with him, but we have the other three who are just absolutely crushing it this year. So it's, it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, Chris. I think it's going to be a close game no matter what.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think Kyle Duggar is really going to be a big loss to our defense. But one thing I do love about our Patriots organization and the Bill Belichick system is that the next man up is always just as good. Always.
It doesn't seem to work as well for the Bills, unfortunately. We usually say next man up every week, and that player that fills in doesn't typically do as good of a job, and it's usually on the offensive line for us. So I hope it doesn't work out for New England, but I mean, history is telling us someone's just going to step in and have a day. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, we have a similar situation with us losing Trey White. So it's next man up. And
that's true.
You're missing a big player in that secondary, and so are we. So we're going to have to see what adjustments we make. And Kendrick Bourne, oh my goodness.
Gosh, the Bourne identity. That guy is a stud. He is
born
so
good. Born to run.
So, Chris, real quick, I want to ask you, so what do you think the keys to the game are? Like, first of all, let's focus on your team. How do you think you can take advantage of this Bills team that you've seen? Maybe, I don't know how much you've watched the Buffalo, but what's your thought there and how your team is going to be able to beat the Bills?
Well, I definitely think that we have to keep pressure on Josh Allen. We have to minimize his scrambling ability, especially with the weather report being, it's going to be a tough weather day for both teams. So we have to make sure that we minimize scrambling and we keep what you guys have Devin Singletary and you have Matt Breida right now. So we have to make sure we keep them contained. And really our secondary, like you said in our previous topic, it's a great secondary. So if we keep Stephon Diggs contained as well, then we should be able to just really take advantage of that Bills and just keep them like minimal scoring. I think what was it, Jacksonville? That was a big upset victory. Jacksonville really showed the formula on how to beat the Bills.
They did have the formula, though. You're right. You're absolutely right on that.
I think, Chris, the formula was out earlier. I mean, this Bills offense has just not been the same. It hasn't felt the same, and I think the formula has been out there. But we've struggled with teams that have very good linebackers, especially on the edge. You guys have a couple of those. Van Noy and Judon. So, I mean, I'm super worried about that. So talk to me about, is there a kink in the armor over there on the other side? Can the Bills take advantage of anything against your defense?
As good as our secondary is, our biggest flaw is that our defensive line may not be as good as, against the run. So whereas, Matt Judon, he is, leading the team in sacks. He's doing great this year. Fantastic. But our run game, our defense against the run game is pretty weak. If they get a lot of pressure on Mac Jones, as good as Mac Jones is a quarterback, his accuracy and everything's amazing. As good as he is, they do struggle against the blitz that you see. The Saints showed us that, and that's probably our biggest loss this season. The New Orleans Saints, like constant pressure on him, and then if we just minimize our turnovers, when we have two or more turnovers, we never really have a good game. So I think that's our real big kink in our armor.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of hurt us as well, the turnovers. And you said it earlier, we're both tied at number 2 for takeaways in the NFL with 25. So I think that's going to play a big role again. Jake, what do you think?
I 100% agree with that. And it's crazy that you mentioned the run game. Last week, the Titans had 2 100-yard backs. So that definitely is a kink in the armor. However, it's unfortunate because our run game isn't very good. So, I mean, the good part for us is that we have John Feliciano coming back and Spencer Brown coming back. So that's going to be enormous. And hopefully that'll help us a little bit. I think Matt Breida should be RB1 100%. He can actually get to the outside, and he's better for the personnel that we have. So, like you said, though, I mean, if you guys can contain those guys, it's going to be a long day, especially if we have some poor weather conditions. So, yeah, that might be the key to the game right there.
I think both teams are, again, I'll go into it deeper in our show, but I think both teams are going to be having to run the ball with the weather that they're predicting. And, but believe it or not, this was, while I was doing the research last night, this was crazy to me. The Bills actually averaged more rushing yards per game than the Patriots. Somebody has to fact check me. Maybe it was too late. I was, my eyes were blurry, but I had looked a couple times and I'm like, this can't be possible. But I think what aids that is the fact that
it's
we
inflated.
have Josh Allen adds to that total. Now,
Absolutely.
I will say this. I watched the game last week between Tennessee and the Patriots because I hadn't really watched a lot of the Patriot games. But Mac Jones, if he has to, he can run. That guy is not slow. He'll beat Brady any day. I mean, who wouldn't beat Brady? But the guy can run if he had to. He's just not doing it right now.
Yeah, Mac Jones definitely has some sneaky athleticism. It shows a couple times, but I like the fact that he's more of a pocket passer and he keeps himself upright and he doesn't take a lot of unnecessary hits like a lot of rookie quarterbacks do come in and do. So I do really like that. And like you said, he does have that in his back pocket if he needs to take off and he sees the lane, he will do it.
Yeah. I think if the wind is what they're saying it's going to be with 20 to 40 plus mile per hour gust, I think you're going to see a lot of running. You're going to see the short game maybe in play. Long game is pretty much out of play. But if I had to pick a quarterback that I want thrown into that wind, it's going to be Josh Allen with his strong arm. So I think there's a little advantage there. But again, I do not think passing down
coldest game of Mac Jones' career potentially too. So
really,
yeah, be on alert there. Not that it matters that much.
And Jake, you talked about, I think you mentioned it last week. You feel Mac Jones was the best pick of the bunch in the first round there with quarterbacks.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, it's been shown, and I think coaching has been huge for that too. I mean, he's got Josh McDaniels to go to every single game, every single play, every single practice. That guy's a wizard, honestly, with his offensive play calling and the way that he's able to coach his quarterbacks up. It's really impressive. So, yeah, I mean, definitely he's been the most impressive by far. What's crazy is though, and I was talking with this a little bit too with my Pats buddy. He had mentioned that he's already kind of, peaked. He's already hit his ceiling, whereas he's looking at Josh Allen, who he came in and his potential was like unlimited. So and we discussed this too. We almost feel like Mac Jones is like a Chad Pennington, where he can get it done. He can win you some games and stuff. Very accurate quarterback, but I don't know if this is going to be it or if he's going to just continue to climb the ladder. We'll see. Time will tell. But that's kind of how I'm feeling about it right now. I'm kind of praying that's how it is, but man, we'll see.
Chris, you have any follow-up thoughts on that?
I mean, Mac Jones hitting his ceiling. We'll see.
You're like, hell no, man. Are you kidding me right now? No way.
No, he's a 1 year. He's a first year player. He showed a lot of potential.
It's way too early. Too early. A little
too early call. Like you said, he does have that sneaky athleticism. So we'll see as he gets more comfortable within the offense. If they do start drawing up some RPO plays for him, because one thing about it is the Patriots they're always changing their offense. They always have some trick plays that they pull out occasionally. You never expect it. Always some flea flickers. And Mac Jones, looking at his history, he's always been in great organizations. He literally went from a Nick Saban coach team to a Bill Belichick team. So he just has like top tier education. So I feel like his ceiling is really high and his potential is limitless at this point.
I like that. I respect that. I can definitely respect that. He's always been a part of a winning program and a winning tradition too. So it's like he's been there before. So a lot of people, coming in as a rookie quarterback, people might think that the limelight's a little too big and that this is like too big of a moment for him, but he's been there. He's gone to national championships. He's played under 100,000 fans and stuff like that. He's used to the pressure. So that is definitely a bonus for him for sure.
Yeah. So Chris, I mean, tell me a little bit about what do Patriots fans think of the Bills Mafia? I mean, when you're thinking about the Bills Mafia, is it even? Are there any thoughts about the Mafia and the team in general? I know up until this last year, the Bills, you were kind of like you could count on getting 2 wins per season, sweeping us for the most part. They weren't always blowouts. They were close. Every divisional game is close. It's a dogfight. But up until last year, you pretty much had our number. But so what is the thought there from a Patriot fan about the Bills Mafia?
Well, we always treated the Bills like our little, our redheaded stepchild.
Fair enough.
All jokes, but the Bills always been a tough team defensive wise. Even if they didn't have their offense under wraps, and they didn't have it together, they always played us tough defensively. So that was always a good division game. You always look forward to the Bills in Miami. The Jets were never really a factor, but we knew 2 teams were always going to play us tough, and that was, like I said, the Bills in Miami. So seeing them now with their offense together, Josh Allen, he's in his second or third year, and he's just I don't want to say he's peaked, but he's getting it together. Last year was a lot better for him this year, but you never know with him because he has the potential, like I said, on the ground and in the air. If their receiving core can get it together, then it's going to be a real big problem. But we've always admired and respected the Bills, that's for sure.
Good to know. And you're right about Josh as far as last year being his best year so far, but it's interesting if you look at the numbers, and Jake and I were looking at this a couple of weeks ago. We were shocked.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it, but his numbers are very similar to last year. So it's crazy to think that.
But I will say this: I think the games that he's played bad in are like really bad. Yeah. The games he's played good in are like elite. I mean, you see the MVP quarterback that we were expecting. So it's really strange. It's an interesting year.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention, it's funny too, because speaking of last year, I feel like the Bills didn't get a lot of screen time. For some reason, our division doesn't get a lot of screen time.
No, not at all.
Because if you pay attention to the way he played last year, you can honestly call Josh Allen Patrick Mahomes of the NFC. I mean, he made some fantastic plays. He just has that athleticism. He can make some just crazy on-the-run passes. He's the whole package. He's a great quarterback.
Yeah, thank you for that was well said. I told you this guy's professional. He keeps it.
He is professional. You know what? He could talk a lot of crap about the Bills right now, and he's not doing it. So I respect it. But hey, man, New England looks great this year. I mean, honestly, it's truly amazing that here we are thinking that they're in a rebuilding phase, and next thing you know, they're 8-4. They're first in the AFC East again, and it's just like they don't have any. I mean, one-off year. And they were 7-9 last year. They were still in the playoff hunt, even towards the end of the season. So just really pretty incredible to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, they get off to a 2-4 start, and I'm like, great, we don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I look in the rearview mirror, and they're not only catching up to us, they're passing us. I'm like,
yep,
what the heck just happened here?
Yeah, the Patriots, man, they just have it together. They figured it out. And really, like I said, if you go back and watch some of their highlights from like games that we did lose, they were never really big losses. We lost field goals to Tampa Bay. We lost in overtime to Cowboys off broken coverage. The Saints probably beat us the worst, but outside of that, we've just been tearing through our division, tearing through teams.
Honestly. So. Yeah, that is true. I have a question for you, Chris. Who's your favorite Patriot of all time?
That's hands down. It's got to be Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Man.
I mean, that's not even a discussion. Tom Brady is he's just amazing. Honestly, he can do it all. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that ground game that you like to see or that you see now with a lot of quarterbacks. But in the pocket,
would you argue that maybe that's why he's been in the league for so long? He hasn't really taken the hits.
And he's always had a good offensive line, so they've always kept him upright for the most part. But a lot of quarterbacks who take hits, especially from these big, strong linebackers and defensive ends, they don't really survive. They can't last that long, just constantly taking hits. And Tom Brady, he's just been able to sit in the pocket, kind of relax, and just throw the darts, and his accuracy is on par. I mean, you see some of his great deep passes, always catches them in the bread-basket in stride. Yeah. Beautiful.
The release too, man. The quick release. Just thing of beauty. The TB12 method too. Oh, can't beat it, man. I got to get on that. I got to lose a couple pounds.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to Key West next week. I think it's too late for me.
I mean, a week, you never know.
I don't know, man. But no, that's great. Did you also see that they're bringing back the red uniforms, the alternate red uniforms, the Boston Patriots?
The Minuteman.
Yeah, the
uniform?
Minuteman. Yeah.
I love it. I love the red uniform.
Next season they're going to bring that back, which is pretty cool. It's just going to be like an alternate, I think. But they smoked the Titans that one game in 2009. It was, I believe. They absolutely crushed them. Tom threw like 5 touchdowns in one quarter. It's crazy, man.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I love the uniform, so I'm definitely going to have to get one when it's kind of released back and they're not, charging like the retros, charging it as a retro or, how jersey prices are. But I'm definitely going to get that. I do have a question for you guys as well. If you had to bring up a favorite playoff that you've watched in your lifetime, favorite playoff of all time, Super Bowl of all time.
My favorite Super Bowl of all time.
Super Bowl. Or just game. What's your favorite game to watch?
Okay. Well, to me, it was the Frank Reich comeback playoff against the Houston Oilers at the time. We were pretty much out of it, and he rallied the troops. I forget what the score. We were down like something crazy, like 35 to. I forget what the score was. It was ridiculous.
35-3.
35-3, something like that. And at the time, not only did he orchestrate the biggest comeback in the NFL, but he also had orchestrated the biggest comeback in college as well. I think that might not
Maryland
be true anymore, but so that's one of the biggest memories for me. He was filling in for Jim Kelly, and I thought we were pretty much donezo. I think everyone did. I know a lot of fans, friends of mine, that told me they had turned off the game and went shopping. They went shopping. I think it was holiday season, whatever, but they pretty much turned it off. Next thing they know, they turned the game on late third quarter, and this thing's turning around, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, where's the nearest bar that I can go watch this game?" So that's the biggest memory. And of course, you say Super Bowl. Super Bowl would be the first one because that's the one we had the best chance at winning. And wide right will always stick in my head, but I remember that game like it was yesterday. I was with family. I was in Buffalo. We were all, when that field goal kick was about to be made, we're huddling around the TV. We're hugging each other. And as soon as he kicked it, you could see it was going to go wide right. But
how much therapy did you need after that? I mean, I don't know. I don't even want to think about.
Well, it was the first. It was the first one, and as I told you, Jake, back then I was very much like you. When a game we lost, you had to leave me alone. I had to be. I had to go into my own room and don't even talk to me for a couple hours. My family knew I was going to be crabby. Blah blah blah. So it was tough. Lots of therapy. I wish we would have had a channel like this back then. Could have really,
would have been good.
Could have really
used
used
vent
this.
a little bit.
So for me, those are the two games that I remember. What about you, Jake?
So, it's really weird. So unfortunately, I missed all those years. I was either just born or still in my mom's belly. So I don't really remember that, unfortunately. I mean, I watched the highlights. I've seen it. I know the history, but, I didn't live it. So that's very unfortunate for me. Hopefully we'll be back. I would say, so this is really weird. We're talking about New England. I think my favorite Super Bowl of all time, honestly, was that Panthers-Patriots Super Bowl in 2003. That was a shootout, and it came down to a kick by Adam Vinatieri to win the game. It was 32-29 was the final in that. But that was like the first Super Bowl that I was like really invested in. I was invested in the Bucs and Raiders the year before too, because my brother's a huge Rich Gannon fan. But that was such a blowout. It was like almost – it was kind of hard to watch. I still watched it, but I was really upset with that. When I see New England and Carolina playing, I was rooting for Carolina, obviously, but New England was still young into their dynasty at that point. Tom was still young. He was only like a 3-year pro at the time. So it was pretty fun to watch. And it was so back and forth. Jake Delhomme, daylight coming, you got a Delhomme. He was a quarterback for Carolina. And then you got Musa Muhammad, Steve Smith, Stephen Davis, Deshaun Foster. He had a monster playoff series. I just remember so much from that playoff series. The Panthers played in the game against the Rams that went into overtime. I think it went to double overtime, actually, I want to say. That was an incredible run for them. And I remember they beat, I think it was Philly in the NFC Championship. Donovan McNabb had like broken ribs or something like that. And then, and then you got New England, obviously. They just find a way. And their receiving core at the time. So you talk about right now the weapons that they have or the lack of big name players that they really have on that offense right now. And they're still successful. Well, you go back, 20 years ago, 17 years ago or whatever, and they're starting receiver. Troy Brown, he was a really good receiver. He was a Pro Bowler, but he was kind of getting towards the end of his career at that point back in like 03. He was probably like an 800-yard receiver at that time. But he wasn't the 101 catches, 1,100-yard receiver that he was in 2000, right? So you look at the receiving core then, and they have like Deion Branch, David Patton, rest in peace, David Patton, David Gibbons, Troy Brown, like I mentioned, their tight ends, Christian Fourier. So it's wild to see, like, the fact that they were still able to win those Super Bowls. Their defense was exceptional, though. They had Rodney Harrison. Laura Malloy had actually come to the Bills. I remember they cut him like the week before the season started. So the Bills took him. And then, of course, New England goes on to win a Super Bowl. But, the defense was incredible. Willie McGinnis, he was really good. I'm just reminiscing right now. But, yeah, I remember that Super Bowl so vividly because it was so back and forth. And it was a high-powered game. The score was good. It was, entertaining. That was actually, I think it was that was the infamous Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson halftime show too. But we won't mention that. Yeah. But I already did. But we won't go too much more into that. But that was definitely the most memorable Super Bowl for me because that was like the first one that I was like really invested in. So even though New England won, it was a really good one.
Yeah, I remember that as well. Chris, what about you?
If I had to think about two games that really stick out in my mind, I would have to say, of course, the New England Patriots versus the Atlanta Falcons. That was probably one of the biggest comebacks I've ever witnessed. And it was just amazing, especially being a Patriots fan. You do catch a lot of wrecks. So when you lose, you have to take that. A lot of people who they hate your team start rooting for the next guy. So all these Atlanta Falcons fans came out of nowhere. It's 28-3. We're down bad. Everyone's texting me, "Oh, your boys are done. Your boys are done." I'm like, yeah. And this was the second quarter, third quarter. Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman are going crazy. They already have 100 rushing yards against us, and they're like, "Oh, the game's over. The game's over." And I just tell everyone the same thing. So there's a lot of football left. It's a lot of football left. And I just had to keep telling them Facebook notifications, but just watching them eventually just come back, start fighting and clawing their way back. And I just, you just start seeing that little sliver of hope coming and just like, okay, we're starting to see it come back. We're starting to see it. Yeah. And next thing you know, you guys are in it. Next thing you know, you take it to overtime and all those fans disappeared.
Were you worried at all? Like for a second, Chris, did you know it was going to happen?
I was very worried. Yeah. I won't sit here and lie and say I wasn't worried. If you're down that much and you're in a Super Bowl, then it's rare where you see it come back. There's like you said, the Falcons were popping champagne at halftime. They thought it was over.
Yeah.
They were celebrating in the locker room. It was like, oh, we're taking a trip back to Atlanta.
Easy. Yeah.
And like I said, my phone's going crazy. Everyone on Facebook, Instagram, texting me. And I just had to watch there and sit there and bear. I'm in a house full of Falcon fans. There's only 3 Patriots fans. So we're just in the house just taking all the insults. It's like, your boys are done. And
you got the last laugh.
Yeah, just watching them come back. I just remember running out the house screaming in the middle of the street because I was so excited. And just, it was just a great comeback. Crazy feeling. And I was super invested in that Super Bowl. So that was my favorite Super Bowl, hands down. If I had to say a game that I remember the most was probably the Rams versus the Chiefs. What was it, last year?
Oh, yeah. That was 2018. That was Pat Mahomes' first year as a starter. Yeah.
Yes. And
that was wild, man.
That was probably the highest scoring game. It was back and forth. And the Rams.
That was a college game, essentially.
Basically. Yeah. And the Rams were great that year. So, and seeing Patrick Mahomes, that was one of his best years. So seeing them meet face to face, you knew it was going to be a good game going into it, but then watching the score and the back and forth,
crazy.
I think it ended up being like 53-50.
Yeah,
but it was one of the highest scoring games in NFL history, and it was really fun to watch. So that was probably one of the best games I watched.
Nice. Well, I have a memorable game, total opposite. 3-0 Steelers over Dolphins in 2007. I think it was when the Dolphins went like 1-15 that year. Cam Cameron was their head coach. That was a memorable game in the worst way possible. So there's two sides of it. I just thought of it when you mentioned highest scoring game. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I watched a game that was 3-0. That finished 3-0.
There had to be some bad weather. It was like a.
Oh, it was terrible. It was like a monsoon in Miami. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, great question, Chris. Thanks for asking that. So, Chris, we've taken, like I said, we were planning 15 minutes. We got you now over 30 minutes. See how fast time flies when you're having fun.
About football.
You're a natural, man. We need
you are a natural. Yes,
I definitely will. I love it. I love the energy. I love, there's, like you said, keeping it professional is really fun. So you can just talk football without getting too crazy and talking too much crap. So, I love it.
Well, here's your chance now to talk a little crap. Basically, let's get your prediction on the game, Chris.
I'm always gonna go I'm always gonna go with the Patriots. So, like I said, we're just gonna have to keep putting that pressure on Josh Allen. I think Matt Judon is gonna put him in the dirt a few times, and once we shut that, you guys had. I feel like Zach Moss would have been a better option for you, especially going against that bruiser. You need that bruiser in the NFL today. You have to have those two backs, the two handcuffs to really be a successful team. Because if you can't run the ball, then eventually they're just going to shut down and play zone and cut and kill the passing game. And with the weather, I can really see us just putting Josh Allen in the dirt and taking this game.
I love it. It sounds painful.
Yeah,
ready to take this game home, and then of course, when that happens Tuesday, I'm gonna have a couple messages in that group chat for you, Mike. So,
oh boy, looking forward to it.
So what do you think the score's gonna be? Yeah,
realistically, let me see. Factoring in the weather and everything, I think it might be 21-10.
Wow. Oh, he's only given us 10 points. Wow. Well, we've done that a few times this year. We've definitely underperformed in a couple of games. So, I hope it doesn't happen that way, but you just know, the New England, they're a good team. They got a really good defense. So, haven't played a defense like that this year.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, if you can, plus if with J.C. Jackson, he's covering, Stephon Diggs, I'm surprised that he hasn't been having the year that he, normally has. Stephon Diggs is a great receiving core, but they had to lean more on their backups in Gabriel Davis and Emmanuel Sanders this year. And Emmanuel Sanders, he was making a lot of noise for a few weeks, and then he kind of just
now he's kind of dropped off.
Yeah, he fills it out. So then it's like, who's really your second option? So you guys are kind of facing like a Kansas City situation. So if you can't go to your number one guy, then who you go to for number two? And if you don't have a strong number two, then it's like, all right, well, we have to run, and now you don't have good running backs. So what do you do?
We're just being exposed left and right. It's terrible.
Well, I can't argue with Chris. Chris, I think I told you we would give you our predictions right now, but are you ready to give a prediction real quick, Jake?
I'm ready. I'm sticking with mine, Mike.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's give Chris.
I said 28-24 Bills. Little high scoring, especially given the weather. And right now, I think the over-under set at 42.5. So I'm going over. Life's too short to bet the under. Always bet the over. You're immediately out. If they hit that score, you're immediately out if you bet the under. So the over, there's always a chance, baby. So I'm thinking it's going to be like a last-second touchdown by the Bills. It's time that we finally step up to the plate here, show them who the big brother is now of the AFC East. We're going to win 28-24. That's my final prediction. I'm sticking with it. No field goals, though. No field goals.
All right.
Maybe an extra point. It's going to be tough, though.
All right. For me, I'm thinking with the weather. Again, if the weather is not what they predicted, it would be completely different. But I'm saying 17-14, Bills win. And they win with the plow coming onto the field and pushing off some of the snow.
Yes.
And the only field goal, it's a short one, though. That's the only reason it's even possible. It's like a 15, 20-yard field goal. And it's the minimum, right? So what would that be? 11? Yeah,
so
you're
on the
about a 20-yard 20-yard kick. So it's the minimum you can have around there. And it's late in the game. And we win the game 17-14. So I think it's going to be a very close game. I will say this, Chris, in all fairness, early on in the season, I did a prediction, like what the Bills record would be. I went game for game, and I had us, and I'm off. I'm like, we had the same number of losses that I predicted for the whole season. But I did say we are going to split with New England. So I said, well, I'll take the Bills at home. And I'll take New England at home as well. So I did say we'll split in all fairness. But I'm going to take us with the home game, with the fans, and being the biggest game of the year.
Yeah,
it is. It is.
We'll see. It's definitely going to be a great game. And one thing I do love about these division games is that the coaching staff always prepares for it, harder than most games of the season. It's a team that you see regularly. So we've played you guys over and over again. So And even last year when I think you guys were having your great year, we played you and we beat you last year, if I remember that correctly.
No, we actually swept last
year.
No,
not last year.
There was one game that
the
was
year
close.
Before.
Yeah, the year before. But last year there was a game close, right? It was the first game when Cam fumbled, I believe, late in the game. That was a very close game.
You guys would have won that.
Yes.
The second game kind of blew you out of the water. I will just say that. But not expecting any type of blowouts in either game coming up. We play you the next 2 out of 3, which is really going to dictate the season for both of us.
All right. Well, I think it's definitely going to be some great games looking forward to, but ultimately I'm going New England to take it.
I don't blame you. Chris.
I respect it, man. Yeah. You got to go with your squad,
Of course.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you, man. It was a lot of fun, and like Jake said, maybe we'll get you back on in 2 weeks when we face each other again. You're kind of a star in the making here, man. I was very impressed.
Yeah, you're our official Patriots correspondent now.
Yeah, so. Exactly.
Hey, I love it. Always gonna represent. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and Jake, Mike. It was a pleasure, guys, and it was really fun. So I appreciate it, guys.
Right.
I appreciate you,
Thanks
man.
a lot, Jake.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, guys. Have a great one.
Take care, Chris.
You too,
Thank you, man. All right, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff too, Mike.
He does.
He's good. He's got his head on straight.
For
with
being
all
his
that.
first ever podcast, being on camera, fantastic job.
Awesome.
So let's get into our game. And before I had stats up there, I had some slides up there that I don't mean to, so I just fixed that. But let's talk real quick, and we're gonna try. First of all, let's get back to the channel here. We had some people popping in there. Brandon, my son, great to see you, buddy. Good morning to you as well, Maria. I believe that's Mama Padre.
That's my mom. They're down in Aruba right now, Mike.
All right. Going to Hooters to watch the game. Go Bills! Awesome.
Going to Hooters to watch it. I love it. I wonder whose idea that was.
Oh well, that's Big Al. It's gotta be Big. How did Big Al? How do you think Big? How's that conversation go, honey? You okay with going to Hooters?
I know that they talked about this one before because it was like one of the closer restaurants to the resort or whatever, or maybe it's right in there or something like that. I don't know how that all worked out, but yeah, my mom seems to be all right with it. So whatever.
That is funny. We got Jason Collard chiming in there. But Marv Levy said, "You're only as good as the people around you."
That's so true.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Absolutely. And then Josh Stebby jumping in there. Beat the Pats. Fanatics is the best. Yes, it is. And we're going to talk about that real quick. So we have an amazing giveaway for those that are regular participants. You know about this already. For those that are joining us for the first time, yes, we have a $500 Fanatics gift card giveaway going on right now until December 19th, which is a Sunday before Christmas. And you can get into it by clicking the link in the description. It'll pop up a little form for you asking for your name, your email, your birth date. Birth date's not required, but it seems like everyone always puts it in anyway. And all you got to do is share with us your favorite holiday memory, and you're in. You got one entry, and then you'll unlock a bunch of other ways. And we wouldn't be able to have this gift card without the great folks over at Auto, spelled O-R-T-O. And I'm going to share a little bit about the app and the company real quick. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
40% of the cars on the road hold a hidden history. With the Auto app, you simply photograph any car, and using our AI license plate recognition technology, you'll instantly have accident, sales, and owner data from multiple sources at your fingertips. If you work in the car industry or are simply buying a used car, use Auto to get the full picture. Search Auto, spelled O-R-T-O, on the App Store.
All right, so there you have it. Yes, Jake and I both downloaded this app on our phone. It's free to use the first few times, so you should definitely check it out. You just simply take a picture of a license plate. So if you're looking to purchase a used car or you're in the auto industry, you're going to want to have this app on your phone for sure. I know, Jake, you've downloaded. It's a very simple app to use, very clean, very professional.
It's cool.
Yeah, so thank you from the folks there at Auto, again, spelled O-R-T-O, available on both the Google and Apple stores. So I wanted to share a couple of the great holiday memories people are bringing us. I love sharing these. And by the way, we have close to 1,500 users already entered in this giveaway. In comparison, for the Josh Allen helmet, we only had little bit less than 600. So you can see there's a lot of interest in this gift card.
That is legit. I mean, that's pretty amazing when you think about what it was for the signed helmet, what it is right here. I mean, within this short span of time, it's incredible. It really is.
I know, it is crazy to me. So here's a couple things that people have shared. Having my extended family all together, participating in the Christmas plays at our church, very cool. Building a large, this one's pretty amazing. Building a large snow fort with lights in it during the big snowstorm of 1967 in Chicago.
Wow.
1967. Wow. And then I love this next one here. Getting a part-time job when I was 16. I was so happy because I'd have money to spend on my relatives who gave me presents for all those years. In a way, it was payback, which made me feel so grown up and proud. And then my favorite holiday memory was flying to Illinois and spending Christmas with my grandmother and a ton of family. It was one big sleepover in the living room. So there's a lot of great stories that people are sharing. And again, that's how easy it is to get into the giveaway. And we'll be announcing the winner on the 19th. That's Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to get into our show. And let's go through the injury reports. All right. So on the Bills sides, we're pretty clean. We have F.A. Abada, who's questionable. Cody Ford is questionable. And Tommy Doyle, who's out on the COVID list. None of these guys are starters for us. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I did read recently, he didn't, and again, we still have another day before the game, so I don't have the most up to date, but this is as of this morning. I read an article about Starr still feeling some side effects from COVID. So
really?
I'm a little concerned. I mean, if you've had COVID, which I had, it lingers for a very long time. You have that fatigue that it's just hard to get over. And so I read that. So I'm a little concerned. He didn't show up on the injury report.
That is interesting because he was out for longer than, so usually it's like 10 days or whatever. And then if you test negative, you're usually good to go. But it is interesting because it seems like he's been out, 3 games now?
Yeah.
That he's missed, so maybe, that definitely obviously would make sense if he is having some lingering effects. Pretty interesting.
Well, it was like, wasn't it Dawkins who had it earlier in the year?
He said it was pretty bad.
It took him a while to get over it.
It's so weird. It affects everyone differently because I know some people that like they didn't even know they had it and they only knew they had it because they were exposed to someone and they had to get tested. So it's strange. And then you have people who are, it's unfortunate. You have people that end up in the hospital. You have people that end up on ventilators. So it's so dramatic, like the difference in how it affects different people. And I hope he's okay. I hope it doesn't affect him too much and he's able to play all right. And
I hope he's okay as well. But like
even Tommy Sweeney, remember he had that myocarditis or whatever?
Yeah. Cost him the whole year last year. So so hopefully he's okay, like I said, and we'll see. I can tell you firsthand that you're right, Jake. I felt like I had a common cold. But as time went on,
it got worse.
That fatigue stayed with me for over a month. It felt like. Now I'm not in the best of shape. I'm not working out like all these guys are. But I can tell you,
give yourself some credit, Mike. Come on now.
I will tell you that fatigue is real. So hopefully he's okay. Yeah. On the other side, again, a lot of injuries showing up currently on the report, but Bill Belichick usually does this. He puts his whole team on the injury report. He's known for that.
He does purposely sometimes.
So a lot of these folks I expect to play. There is one that is a definite out, but I'll run through the list here. Gunnar Olszewski. Okay, I'll let you say that one.
Bemidji State.
Ronnie Perkins, Jawan Bentley, Brandon Bolden, Nick Folk, their kicker, Trent Brown, David Andrews, and Christian Barmore are all questionable. You can see some of the ones in the green. Those are starters for them. The others are secondary guys for them. But the big one is Kyle Duggar, and he is out on the COVID list. So that's a huge loss.
So he's officially out. Like no chance he plays, which is enormous.
Can you talk a little bit about him, Jake?
Yeah. So he's a big safety. He's 6'2", 220, and he can kind of play everywhere on the field. He's really been extremely impressive this season. I actually wanted the Bills to maybe take a shot at him 2 years ago. We didn't end up taking him, which is all right, whatever. He was drafted 37th overall by New England and came out of a small D2 school. And he has just been, lights out this year. I think he has 67 tackles, 3 interceptions, playing like a Pro Bowl safety. He really, the increase from last year to this year, and you knew what his potential was. You knew he could be a really good player, but you're really seeing the development this year. So that is enormous that he's out, because I'll tell you what, that guy is he's all over the place. It's hard to miss him on the field, So he reminds me almost, it's interesting, a little bit bigger, but he almost reminds me of like Micah Hyde in his earlier days. Because with Green Bay, Micah Hyde kind of played all over the place. He was a nickel corner. He played safety. He returned punts, did a little bit of everything. So it's kind of interesting to see, it'll be really interesting to see how his career progresses, but he's been really, really good this year.
Well, it kind of levels, I don't say perfectly levels, but it levels the playing field with us having Trey White out and our secondary. So huge loss for them, huge loss for us. But with the weather, I'm telling you, man, I think it's really going to come down to stopping the run. But I believe most of those folks on that list are going to be playing. Like I said, Kyle Duggar is the only one out. Jake, I forgot to mention, so we have bonus codes for our giveaway, and we're giving away 2 today. It's the holiday season. We're being generous. We want people to have 2 bonus codes today. But the first one, we're going to have to work at it just a little bit. And this is going to be, I'm going to give you a little trivia. Again, this is a great game for folks that haven't picked it up. Buffalo, Who's the Man? Great little trivia game for anyone who's a fan of the Bills. It's all about the Bills, man. Everything in here is related to the Buffalo Bills. Jake, I had to be kind. I was like, he's too young to know this, and maybe I'll challenge you with some of the older names. But I did keep it within the last, I'm not going to give you too much of a hint, but it's at least within the last 10, 15 years, this player. Okay. So kind of current. There we go. First question. This is interesting. Played both quarterback and cornerback at Green Oaks High School in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay, Shreveport. All right.
Second one. Named the consensus All-American and earned first-team All-SEC honors as a senior at LSU.
All right, I got it already.
Are you kidding
I'll let you
me?
read the others.
Come
I'll let you read.
on.
You thought I had it on the first one, but when you
wow.
said Shreveport, so there's a good thing about that too.
Okay, well, this one's going to give it to you, so we'll say this one, and then you can talk a little bit about it and give us your answer. So, selected by the Bills as the 8th defensive back chosen in the 2017 NFL Draft.
Yep, and it was infamous because we traded the pick with the Chiefs, and that would have been Pat Mahomes. So it was Pat Mahomes for the Chiefs, and then Trey White for us. Trey White is the answer. Man, it's going to hurt not having him out there tomorrow. It really is. And, I know he's really missed, but, there was a story that came out and Bills fans had donated to, what was it? It was something.
It was over 100. Over 100,000. I forget. It was I forget what it was and what they donated to, but I did see that recently show up. It was like $27 for Trey White. I think the Bills, they did it for Josh Allen. Was it last year when his grandma died? It was $17. They like to take the jersey number and donate that amount. So
Bills fans are notoriously extremely generous. And not notorious. That's not a good word to say. They're very generous throughout all history. I mean, even when Andy Dalton, when he propelled
that was awesome.
The Bills in the playoffs, technically on the Tyler Boyd catch and run. I mean, that, donated to his foundation, and it's really is pretty cool how giving Bills fans are.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that is right. Trey White's answer. So the first bonus code, it's a little late to use this, but I figured I had it. Should have used it on Turkey Day. And that's the bonus code. Turkey Day, one word. TURKEYDAY. Turkey Day. If you take that code, put it into the app, you get 5 additional entries. Jake, you'll have to remind me. We're going to give another bonus code a little bit later on.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Let's get on to the weather report here, which we kind of talked about already. Rush through this. 30 degrees at kickoff time, 20 to 40 mile per hour wind gust. It's going to be in the 20s by the second half. Lake effect snow is possible. My understanding is it's supposed to rain most of the day, but once that starts getting colder, we can see that snow. So this can be, like I said, I'm not liking these games because I feel like we've had a lot more weather games, which hurts our passing game, which is what we're built for. But I was optimistic to see that the Pats, if there is one kink in their armor, it's on a defensive side against the run. And I know we don't have the greatest running game, but we made a change a couple of weeks ago. Actually, last week was the first time with Breda and Singletary. and we got a couple key guys back on the offensive line. One thing I didn't hear about, I mentioned on the injury report, Feliciano doesn't show up. I believe he was brought off the IR, but I haven't really read much if he's ready to go. So
yeah, it sounds like he's going to play. That's what everything's pointing towards. But yeah, there really hasn't been an official word saying yes, he's in. So
okay.
I'm assuming he's going to play though.
Yeah. So the weather here, huge. This is going to be, he's going to play a huge factor in this game. Absolutely. Which we already talked about there. All right, let's move on to a little bit about the Patriots. First time we're seeing a team. I like to bring up some information. So I was just astonished when I did my research last night. I did not realize the amount of money. One way to get good again, Jake, is hit the lottery, take all that money, and spend it on free agents. And listen to this. I mean, first of all, Mac Jones, he's the oh man, I have a typo there. I think he's the 15th overall pick this year.
Yes.
I have him as the 5th, so that's a typo on that slide there. But Mac Jones, 15th, you take a quarterback, you needed a quarterback, you take him in the first round. And as Jake has said many times, he believes that that's the find of the draft as far as quarterbacks go right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But look at these other guys he signed in the free agency. Offensive tackle Trent Brown, 1 year for $11 million. Defensive tackle Devon Godshaw, 2 years, $16 million. Defensive back Jalen Mills, 4 year for $24 million. Linebacker Matt Judon, 4 year for $56 million. I mean, look at these names. Linebacker Kyle Van Noy, 2 year for $13.2 million. Tight end Jonnu Smith, 4 years for $50 million. I'm telling you what, Jonnu Smith, I guess he's been having a little bit of a down season. That guy is so fast. He's more of a receiver than a tight end.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I mean, he's a big receiver. That's pretty much what
they were running like some jet sweeps with him last week in the Tennessee game. That's how fast he is. I think they wanted to kind of get him a little more playtime against his former team. But this guy, I mean, 4 year, $50 million. You can see what they thought of him. Tight end Hunter Henry coming over from the Chargers, 3 years for $37.5 million.
He's been a touchdown machine.
Yeah, wide receiver Nelson Aguilar, 2 years for $26 million. And then we talked about him, Kendrick Bourne, 3 year, $22.5 million. My goodness. And that's not all of it, Jake. I didn't have enough room. I pretty much put on the big names, put up there on the big names that they spent money on. But there's another 4 or 5 guys that they spent a couple million on, more than a couple million, trust me.
Yeah.
But that's how you get good real quick. You have a bad year, my goodness, go out and sign these guys. Of that list, who are the guys that stand out to you?
Well, 100% Matt Judon. I think he was the biggest name on that list by far. They brought back Trent Brown too, which is, familiar territory for him. He was with New England, and then he went to Las Vegas. He played with the Raiders for a hot second and then came back. So he is a mammoth of a human being. I don't know if you've ever seen how big that guy is. Oh my gosh, enormous. And then Kyle Van Noy's been playing excellent. You could see that there was a little bit of a drop-off last year when he played there. Still okay, but then he came back to New England, and it's like he's been playing lights out lately. And then Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, I mean, the two-headed monster at tight end. I mean, they've been fantastic this year. Jonnu Smith, a little bit of a down year, a couple injuries here and there that he's dealing with. Hunter Henry's been scoring a touchdown almost every week. So, he's been really, really a nice pickup for them, especially in the red zone. He's been great.
Yep.
And then you have Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne has been, the last 3 weeks, really, he's kind of exploded. He was sort of like up and down this year, but he's shown a ton of consistency over the last 3 weeks. So last week he had 2 touchdowns against the Titans. He had some pretty impressive catches. And then you got Nelson Aguilar, who's been pretty solid too. So they've done a really nice job with all of it. And most of these names on here are just pretty average to solid players that they picked up that are good fill-ins for starting positions. But it goes back to coaching again. And I think they've kind of exceeded what their expectations are just based on, how well they've been coached up. So pretty impressive. Been put in the right situations too.
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable. I was shocked when I saw these names, but like you said, they're excelling this year. I mean, Judon, he's no surprise. Like that guy was a great signing, but anyhow, it's quite the difference. And they had a lot of salary cap space, and they went out and spent all of it and then some here. So good for them. And that kind of, they got off to a slow start. And the reason I think it was is because, again, it takes time for a team to gel with a new system. You got all these new players and they're learning a new system. They're learning each other. it's going to take a little while. And I think it took them 6 games, and then something clicked. And man,
something clicked there, because now it's like they're unstoppable.
Yeah. So on the defensive side of the ball, guess what? They're first in points per game at 15.8. Yeah. We're second. We're slightly behind that. They're second in takeaways, 25, which is tied with the Bills. They're fourth in yards per game, 316.7. They're third in passing yards per game, 200.9. They're 20th. This is their only kink in the armor. They're 20th in rushing yards per game, which is 115.8. And I got to say, that game against, who was it last week? Tennessee, didn't help them much. So that average was much better until that game, pretty much like us when we played Indy and got just destroyed on the run.
Yeah, just manhandled up front. Yep.
they're sixth in sacks on the year, which is 30th. Something that we're lacking. I think, I have it at the top of my head. I think we
got to be close to the bottom.
We're down there like 21st or something. I think we have 20 on the season. Not what we expected. We expected a lot more with all the moves we made. And so top defense here we're going against. Offense, 14th in total yards per game. They put up 355 yards a game. They're 12th in the rushing game, 115. They're 14th in the passing yards per game, 240, and they're 7th in points per game at 28.1. They've been really destroying teams. I mean, they've been beating teams like we were earlier in the year. So, by the way, I want to say this is real life. Jake's got a little daughter. You might hear her.
I know. Can you hear her crying up there? I'm sorry.
She's having a bad day.
She's having a tough one today.
It's all good.
My poor wife's up there.
I was expecting. So I have my sister-in-law. My wife had the sister-in-law and her niece, because they're going to be moving in the next month or two out of state, and she wanted to spend some time with them. The little girl's, I think she's 4 years old. She's cute as a button. I was expecting someone to come running into my room, so that might still happen. We'll have to see. So it's life, Jake. This
is what we deal with here. We're working through the kinks right now. It's going to be good. So yes, exactly. Apologize if you hear the baby crying upstairs.
No apologies.
She is okay. I think my wife just made her a bottle. We have this thing called a baby Breeza, Mike. It's pretty impressive. It's like a baby Keurig, pretty much, essentially. So it makes the bottle for you and everything. You can have it warm. You can have a room temperature. It's great.
They didn't have that when my kids were babies. I was just saying.
It's crazy because it's so
much easier.
Yeah, I go to make a bottle now by hand. I'm like, what am I even doing here? This is weird. So
you can see, Jake, they're a top defense, very good on offense as well. I mean, this is, again, I said it at the start of the show, the biggest game of the year by far. And we're playing a team that has just turned it around. 2-4 start. Now they're 8-4. Unbelievable. And you can see their numbers here. They're up near the top in many cases. And looks like that rushing is the only one that is where we can take advantage of them on defense. And again, not having the best running game, but it was crazy to me, like I said earlier, that we average slightly more yards than they do. But again, that's because of Josh.
Yeah, a little inflated because of him, but he might be running a lot this.
I think he's going to
tomorrow too. Honestly.
I think they're gonna. If the weather is the way it is, I think they're gonna have a lot more planned.
I could see it. I can definitely see that.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
All right, I'm gonna give the other bonus code because the folks waited long enough, and before I forget, the second bonus code. I'm not a fan of this drink. I know my wife is, but it's eggnog.
Eggnog.
EGGNOG. Eggnog. Are you a fan of that drink, Jake?
It's hit or miss. I like the Southern Comfort eggnog. I think that's my favorite that I've had. But I'll drink it just during the holidays, but it's not like a go-to. Like, it's not the first thing I would choose to drink,
All right, let's get into your key matchups for the game.
All right.
So first one is Hunter Henry versus the Bills linebackers. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, I talked about Hunter Henry being an absolute touchdown machine. I mean, the guy is a weapon in the red zone. We're going to have to jam him at the line. We're going to have to make sure that someone is responsible for him because he could sneak behind you, get that catch in the end zone, get that catch behind you. He's very athletic too and actually sneaky fast. So, he's been a really good acquisition for them. Not putting up the yards per se, but he's got, 7 touchdowns this year. So he's had a really nice season as far as that goes. So it's going to be definitely a task for us. Make sure that we cover him. And, with the weather being the way it is, maybe those shorter passes to the tight ends are going to be a main staple for the Patriots offense. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, that's going to be an important one to definitely look out for.
I totally agree. The short game is going to be in play. If the weather's what it is, it's going to be a lot of the short game, and both teams can play that style. I feel like the Patriots have been doing more of that this year. So, advantage them in the short game is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what my feeling.
No doubt about it.
So your other one here, Josh Allen versus primetime. I saw that. I'm like, what you mean there, Jake? Tell me.
What I mean by that is I talked about this at the beginning of the show. So we are in a position right now where we're supposed to be the most dominant team in the AFC, let alone the AFC East. And right now we're not even in first place. I think there were a lot of expectations set up at the beginning of the year that this is like a Super Bowl or bust year. And you got to also be a realist and understand that these teams have to go through a growth period. They go through some bumps in the road. And right now is a time where Josh Allen can prove how good he is and how good the Bills are. This is really going to show what the Bills team is that we're dealing with right now. So primetime game, Monday night, the last Monday nighter that he played in, not so great. He's been good on primetime games in general. I mean, the last one was Thanksgiving. That was on Thursday night. He played fantastic, 2-0 on Thanksgiving, by the way. No big deal. Sunday night, he was good against the Chiefs. And then you had the Titans game where it was like, he still played well. He put up the good numbers and stuff, but this is a huge game. This is it. This is really, the Pats can take a 2-game lead on us in the division. Or actually, it's a 1-game lead technically, or 1.5, whatever you would call it.
1.5,
yeah. So this is enormous. And I think it's time for him to really show us what he's made of and the fact that he's an MVP candidate. So Josh Allen versus primetime, baby. Let's go.
I like it.
He was made for this. He was made for this. I think he's going to do pretty damn well tomorrow night.
We got Kevin Wright coming in on the channel saying Pats edge this one 20-16.
Oh.
And he says better weather and the Bills would be faves. I agree. I mean, this weather takes away what we're built for. What we've been saying we're built for is our passing game. So I have to agree. Kevin, I don't know if I haven't seen you in the channel before. Thanks for coming out and joining us today. Great to have you. So let's move on to my key matchups. And you're going to laugh at mine, but I really think because of the weather. And again, if the weather changes, which it can, right, Jake? You were saying this earlier. Weather can change in a blink of an eye in Buffalo, New York. We could have all of a sudden them saying 20 to 40 mile per hour gusts, snow, to all clear and no wind at all. So here's where my key matches are.
Wow.
Bills rushing attack versus the Patriots front seven. We're going to be running the ball. And when I say we're going to be running the ball, that includes Josh Allen. I think there's got to be a lot of the game plan are going to have him running the ball. I know a lot of time he improvises and runs on his own when he has to. I think this time we're going to see.
So you think
more
design runs? So like
design runs,
shotgun or something. He's taking a draw or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the ball, I have the Patriots rushing attack versus the Bills front seven. And again, this is where they have the two-headed monster there, where they are hard downhill runners, and they're going to pound the ball. They have a very good offensive blocking scheme. And we're going to need to step up. I mean, whenever we've played a good running team, which was Indy, we got destroyed. When we played Tennessee with Henry, you can argue back and forth that we did okay. I mean, obviously we let Henry take off for a 76-yarder, which inflated his stats. But you take that away and we're all right. But again, I'm going to say we gave up a ton of yards there. And so to me, and I wanted to get into this conversation again, because if you know the weather's going to be like it is, Jake, and if it turns out to be like they're predicting, do we see less Taron Johnson and throw some AJ Klein in there to help stop this run? If you know it's going to be a running attack majority of the time, do you make that change? They didn't when we talked about it against, who was it? It was Indy.
It was against Indy,
It was against Indy. They did not. I told you that Taron Johnson was in over 90% of the snaps. And it was something we had talked about prior to that game. Is like maybe AJ Klein comes in a little bit more than Taron Johnson.
I would like to see that happen. Definitely. I think that's, a great idea. AJ Klein's been pretty damn good against the run, and it's better to have a bigger body in there. No offense to Taron Johnson. He's been great. And it's going to be interesting to see how his role changes a little bit now that Trey White's out too.
Right.
So, Yeah, so that's still up for debate on what's going to happen there at the CB1 spot. Is it going to be Dane Jackson? Is it going to be Cam Lewis? Is Taron Johnson going to roll over? I think he might stay in the nickel. So yeah, that's going to be very intriguing to watch. And then I think with the run, with stopping it, your best bet is to have bigger bodies out there. And I think obviously getting Starr back, hopefully he's all good. He's able to play and he's good to go, which I think he is. But I hope it didn't affect him too much with his conditioning and whatnot. If he could stay in this game, he makes such a difference, especially in the interior there. So that's going to be a huge piece. It's going to start up front. So we'll see.
Yeah, so it's again, we're built to be a passing team, but I just don't think that's going to be in play too much this week, this Monday, if the weather holds up. So we'll see. Let's go to your impact players for the game.
Yeah.
Let's start with your Bills side. Matt, bringing in Matt Breida, Spencer Brown coming back from COVID, and Starr coming back from COVID. So talk to me about those.
I think the story of our offense is going to be, and I know you're talking about the running game a lot. I think Matt Breida offers you, obviously the two-dimensional aspects. So a lot of checkdowns. I hate to say it. The short passing game is going to have to be huge in this. So checking it down to Matt Breida, getting him in open space even to make a move, that's where things can really turn in our favor because the guy's so quick and so shifty. And then Cole Beasley. He's the number one sit-em, I believe, right now on NFL Network with their fantasy guys. But I think he has to be huge. I really do. I mean, the short passing game is going to be enormous just because of the weather, like you said, Mike. And I think he needs to have a big day. In the last game he played against New England, I thought he went off and he played pretty well. Was that actually – that might have been the game that he fractured his fibula, I believe.
Oh, wow.
I want to say it was, yeah. But the game before that, I think he went off. He had a big day. So, yeah, I think he needs to definitely step it up. It's been a quiet last, 5 weeks or so for him. So I think it's time now. We got to get in a rhythm with those short passes. Then we can kind of attack their corners a little bit on the outside. Stephon Diggs versus J.C. Jackson is going to be a really interesting matchup. Going to be a good one for sure. Stephon is very physical. Maybe we can get away with, a push off or something like that with him. But yeah, I think the short passing game is going to be huge, and Matt Breida offers that aspect better than our other two backs. Devin Singletary, he's been good in the passing game, but he's only averaging like 3 yards a catch. Matt Breida, he can take it upfield a little bit. So I think he's going to be big in that sense of the game. And then you have Spencer Brown coming back, which is phenomenal. That's the best news I've heard in forever. The guy just brings a totally different attitude to that line. He's been playing extremely well this year for a third-round rookie. The guy was supposed to be a project this year, and he comes out and he's been just extremely impressive this whole season. So happy that we have him back. We need everything that we can get against this New England team. Against that front, that's going to be tough. And then you have Star Lotulelei, who I just mentioned. He's going to be huge in the interior. They're helping stop the run. They have two really good running backs, so it's going to be enormous. We need him. We need him to play extremely well tomorrow night.
Yeah, I agree with all three of those that you have, Jake. Spencer Brown, just a little bit more on him. I think, obviously, he's a rookie. He's really only started. I mean, we've had him as a starter now for a bit, but he's been out on injury, now COVID. He's definitely brings something special to the run game. Obviously, I believe his skills are a little more advanced on the run game than the passing attack, pass blocking. But that's still yet to be seen because we haven't had a lot of time with him in a game where we've been throwing the ball a ton, where he's been in it. But he definitely brings something special to the run game. And again, with the weather being what it is, I think that's going to be huge. So
running outside zone, Matt Breida. That's your guy right there.
Exactly. So welcome back, Spencer Brown. Big. On the New England side, let's go through the years.
Yeah, so for New England, I talked about Kendrick Bourne. He's just been incredible. He really has turned into a legitimate number one receiver. The catches he's been making over these last few weeks have just been insane. I think you kind of saw a little bit of a flash in the pan with him last year with the 49ers. Then he came to New England this year, signed a decent-sized contract, 3 years, $21 million. And he really was like just average. And now you're starting to see like this guy is a legitimate football player. He's a legitimate receiver. And he's been just awesome. And with the loss of Trey White, I mean, our secondary is beat up a little bit right now, and it definitely takes a toll on us. So you got to watch for that guy. He can make some big plays, and him and Mac Jones have some pretty good chemistry right now going. So, yeah, absolutely an impact player for them. Next up, I have Matt Judon on the list, 11.5 sacks this year. Guy is absolutely killing it. It was their best free agent signing, maybe arguably one of the best free agent signings of this past offseason in general. And boy, I am worried about Deion Dawkins trying to protect Josh Allen going up against Matt Judon. It's going to be a nightmare, I think. I think he's going to get into the backfield. It's inevitable. Maybe we have to bring another back in. Maybe we have to bring a tight end in to chip or whatever. You got to get a hold of this guy because he can absolutely tear apart a game for you. So he's a monster. And then J.C. Jackson, as I mentioned, him versus Stephon Diggs. I think that might be the matchup on the outside. J.C. seems to play kind of all over the place. 7 interceptions this season. He's been fantastic. He's a Pro Bowl corner, should be a Pro Bowl corner. Didn't make it last year, which is insane. One of the biggest snubs I've ever seen. And he's just unreal. He's one of the better corners in the league. So it's going to be a really intriguing matchup to watch.
So we got Kevin Wright chiming in again, saying Belichick's going to make Diggs a non-factor. And he's very good at doing that, right? Whoever he wants to make a non-factor, he seems to do it. Doing that.
Yeah.
And then he also chimes in with saying, forget Bourne. He's saying, forget Bourne in this game. He's saying Smith
and Henry. Well, yeah. Okay. I agree with that. Yeah. No, so one of my key matchups was Hunter Henry versus the Bills linebackers. That guy can get behind you. He's actually pretty quick. I think he ran a 4.57 for his 40.
Yeah.
Guy's got he's actually got some really good speed. He's very athletic. He's a great tight end. We've seen him. He's got 7 touchdowns this year. One of the more underrated tight ends in the game. So yeah, he's going to be huge, especially with the weather. I definitely can agree with that.
Yeah. Your mention of Matt Judon scares the heck out of me. We have definitely struggled against elite, above average linebackers, and they have 2 of them. They have Van Noy and Matt Judon, but Judon is the top guy there. But Van Noy scares me just as much.
I know. He's good, man. He really is.
I mean, he's been having a good year. I think he's got 4 sacks on the year. He's got like an interception, 2 forced fumbles. Having a very, very good year, and these are the type of guys that we've just struggled with. So I love it. I love it on your impact players. Let's cut over to mine real quick. So I was just talking about not playing this guy as much, but as you mentioned, he could be helping out with that issue with losing Trey White, Taron Johnson. He's a big playmaker. He can turn a game around, and I haven't seen a lot of that this year. He's been so close. But I'm going to have him in there as a playmaker, somebody who could have a huge impact on this game. And I'm going back to Rousseau again. I mean, one way you help a defense, especially in the secondary, is getting better pass rush. And our pass rush, my goodness, like we said earlier in the show, we're like 21st with 20 sacks. I don't know what the pressures are. I don't have all those stats, but it's been definitely sack wise been pretty non-existent for a while. It just doesn't feel like we're getting what we expected. It seemed to me to change after that Kansas City game. Rousseau had a huge game, and I'm expecting him to have another huge game on Monday night. It's time.
Yeah, he's been pretty invisible, so it's time to shine.
And then you threw Brad out there, but I'm throwing Singletary out there because I think it's going to be a run game, and I think both of those guys are going to be big. I mean, they're going to be a huge part of the game plan as Josh Allen. Going to do a lot of running as well with Spencer Brown back. That aids our run game for sure. With Feliciano back again, hopefully he's good to go. But and then moving Darrell Williams back inside to the guard. I think that right side is going to get a lot of work on the run game this Monday night. And on the Patriots side, obviously we've talked about Harris and Stevenson, their running attack. Again, running attack versus running attack, I give them the edge, even though we average more yards per game and the rushing because of Josh. Who knows? I mean, Mac Jones, he can run the ball. He can. They haven't utilized him, and because he's a pocket passer, which is great. But if he has to, he's got some wheels himself. He can move. So again, these 2 guys focusing on shutting down that run game. Whenever we played a really good run team, we've struggled. Let's see if we can step up. I would hope so. We've had so much time to not only rest. It's kind of like we had a mini bye week. Bye week. So much time to rest. So much time to plan. My goodness, come on. Let's have a game plan. Let's have a game plan that shuts us down. And again, that might mean a little less Taron Johnson. I'm not saying get rid of Taron Johnson altogether, but maybe only bring him in on 3rd downs, 2nd downs in some situations. Really depends on the situation. But stop that run initially. Stop that run with some AJ Klein in there, getting those bigger bodies. And then, of course, I have talked about Kyle Van Noy. I know you had Jude on. I wanted to make sure I brought up Van Noy. So 2 really stud linebackers going to be giving us, wreaking havoc on us all game for sure. So let's see. We got the stubby G. Davis big today. G. Davis. Gabriel?
Gabe Davis, yeah.
You think so? I mean, possibly. I mean, like Kristen mentioned earlier, Sanders. I don't know what's happened. I mean, he was the go-to guy early in the season. You would think with teams having to focus on Diggs that he'd continue to have success, but he really hasn't. You have any thoughts on that? What's happened there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like you said, you think with the key on Stephon Diggs, they're going to kind of leave Emmanuel Sanders open. And I think, he's still producing and he's still making like impactful catches, but he's not putting up the numbers that he was putting up early on in the season. But then again, early on in the season, we weren't really forcing the ball as much as we have been to Stephon Diggs. I think we're trying to make it more of a point to even force feed Stephon Diggs the football. And he's actually been pretty good. He's been scoring touchdowns too. I mean, he's putting up like 70 yards a game with a couple touchdowns. It's really all you can ask for at the end of the day. Where I would like to see some improvement is in the short game. Throwing the ball to Cole Beasley, getting him across the middle. That'll open everything up a little bit, and I think that can help with Emmanuel Sanders too. And Emmanuel Sanders still can go deep, believe it or don't. He can still get deep. So maybe we take a deep shot. I don't know. We'll see. The weather probably not going to allow that, but things can happen where corners fall down or something funky happens. I've seen it happen all the time in these different weather games. So
true. I'm sure we'll see a big play because of the weather. Or something like you said, somebody will fall down. And somebody will take advantage of that for sure. And then Kevin Wright jumping in there with Jonnu Smith will probably have some runs. Yep, I watched that game last week. They ran him on some jet sweeps. And like I said, he's super fast. And yes, I was, at the beginning of the year, I was just shocked that Tennessee let this kid go. I really was.
I know.
They drafted him. He and Corey Davis, just budding stars. And they let both of them go. And they're paying for it, in my opinion, because Julio just can't stay healthy, can't stay in the field. So,
well, neither can these two either. Corey Davis has been out for a few games, but you can definitely tell there's been a bigger impact from these two guys than Julio. Yeah. Julio's non-existent right now, which is really sad because he's, a top 5 receiver, maybe of all time. So it sucks to see. But yeah, Jonnu Smith, I could definitely see that. I almost like to compare him to how they used Aaron Hernandez. Yeah. And I hate bringing that name up, but you remember they almost used him as like a running back. I think he had over 100 rushing yards the one game. This is a long time ago, back in like 2012 maybe. So I can see them, utilizing him in a similar role. So it'll be interesting. Yeah.
Well, that kind of concludes our show today. Let me go back here to the main camera. I do want to thank everyone who's out there. And we're at the point where we say predictions. We kind of set them early, but I'm going to ask the channel, please put your prediction out there because we do have a $50 gift card that we give away if anyone hits the number. But we've been known to be generous, and obviously it's super hard to hit the number right on the dot. Maybe this type of game with the weather, it's going to be even harder, I think, to predict the winning score. But how
many times have we mentioned the weather, Mike?
I know.
All these people who want a dome are probably just like, I told you so.
I know. And I'm starting to lean. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so put your predictions out there. I've already said mine was 17-14. I think there's only one field goal, and it's the shortest possible field goal you can kick.
18 yards. 18 I believe yards. It would technically be.
Yeah, so you're at the 1 yard
18
line.
Or 17,
11,
maybe 17.
Yeah, so around 17 or 18, and so 17-14 for me. And what was yours again? Let me put.
I said 28-24 Bills.
Did you put it in the channel? Over.
I'm gonna do it right now.
All right, so let's do this. I'll put ours in there.
28-24 Bills, baby.
Yeah, so
I know it's a high scoring game, but we'll see.
So, so Kevin's got the Patriots winning 20-16. Kevin, in all fairness, I do have a splitting if we do lose this game. I didn't have a splitting. I had the home team winning each of these games.
Each of them.
Right. Yeah. And hopefully it holds true for us. But if we do lose, it's not the end of the world. We just have to I mean, to me, Jake, these next 3 games, when you're talking Patriots, Bucks, and Patriots, and I don't want to look past any game, but these next 3 games to me is the season.
It is.
It is. I know every game's important after that, but if we don't win 2 of these 3 games, we're not in control of our own destiny. If we win 2 of these 3, we're at least in control of our own destiny.
I agree, 1,000%.
Anyhow, huge. Can't wait till tomorrow.
I know. We got a long time to wait here. That's the only bad part about playing on primetime. Yeah, it's exciting, but you got to wait so long to get there, you know. But we got a ton of games on today, so that's great.
Any games you're interested in? Are you having anyone come over to watch games with you today?
No,
or are you
no
saving that up for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to save that for tomorrow. Not even sure if we're going to cook anything up or we're just going to get a pizza or whatever. I think that actually one of the more intriguing games for me today is the Washington football team versus Las Vegas Raiders. Stubby, if you're still out there, I think the Raiders pull it off, but it's going to be a good one. Although Washington is, they're without Landon Collins and J.D. McKissick, so that does hurt them quite a bit. But they're tough. They've been proven to be a pretty tough team this year. It looks like Antonio Gibson's starting to get back rolling. Terry McLaurin got to step it up a little bit. Taylor Heineke's been playing pretty good football. And but the Raiders, I mean, I was very impressed with what they did against the Cowboys. So, yeah, there he is. He's in the chat. There he is, Mike. Josh is in the chat. So that's the game that I'm most intrigued with today. I think the Raiders pull it off. It's going to be a good one, though.
Yeah, no Waller. So, yeah, I right after this, Jake, I got to go look at my fantasy. I am so beat up. I got to make some big decisions. I'm ahead.
Getting into playoff time,
I got off to a great start. I've only got 2 losses on the season, so I'm pretty much a wrap for the playoffs. But I'm so banged up, I don't know if I'm going to sustain and be able to do anything much into the playoffs. I lost Christian McCaffrey. Waller, as Stubby's just said, is also injured. He's out. I do have his backup, but it's not Waller. I have Swift, who is banged up. I don't know if he's playing. I heard Jalen Hurts.
I think he's out.
May not be playing. I was fortunate enough. It was the only quarterback who was still available in our league, was the backup to
You take Uncle Rico?
Yeah. So we'll see. I got a lot of decisions to make. As far as a post-game show, Jake, I think maybe check your schedule, see if we can do one Tuesday real quick.
Okay.
I know Monday night runs late. We can't jump on and do a post-game Monday night on the East Coast. If it was the West Coast, we might do it. But Jake's on the East Coast, and that's a super late day. So we'll do it Tuesday night, hopefully. We'll see.
Okay. And we might have to double that up, Mike. So I'm going to Key West on Wednesday for a destination wedding. I'm fired up for it. We were almost going to actually go from Key West to Tampa because we're flying out on that Sunday, actually. But we were very close to going to that Bills-Bucks game. But I think Key West is like 6 hours away from Tampa or something like that. And tickets were insane. So I'm a little upset because I really wanted to go to that. But, oh, well, I'll be in the air.
Well, we doubled up last week when we had the post-game show for the Colts, and then we had the pregame show.
Saints pregame.
So we'll double up on that as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kevin Wright saying get Michelle off the wire if he's available.
Oh yeah, Sony Michel. Yeah.
But would he be available?
He's with the Rams. I don't know. He probably is available in most leagues.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because Darrell Henderson's banged up.
Yeah, that's good. Good idea there. I have some banged up running backs, so thank you for that.
Kevin, you got some good analysis, man. I like it. Keep it up.
Yeah.
This is good.
Appreciate
you having. Yeah, appreciate you being in the chat.
Good to see everybody. Thanks again, Kevin. Again, welcome to the channel. First time seeing you out here. Really, really appreciate it. Jake and I do this every week. We do a pregame and a postgame, and we have other content on our channel as well. We do a fantasy football show, which is a lot of fun on Wednesdays. When golf season comes around again, which is about 2 to 3 weeks out, we do a golf show on Tuesdays if you're interested in golf. So anyhow, Jake, let's go watch some football. Let's enjoy our family.
Let's do it.
Take care of that daughter of yours. Make her happy. And you have a great one. I'll talk to you soon, man. Okay?
All right. Sounds good. Go Bills.
Take care, everyone. Bye now.